Tonight's big stories. The Energy Department is blaming the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines for the power outages in Luzon. The department says we can expect more power problems if the NGCP cannot manage its transmission lines. But for the grid operator, it's the unplanned shutdowns of power plants that should be blamed. So, who exactly is at fault?
It was quite a confusing and anxious day for users of digital wallet Gcash after reports of unauthorized transactions from accounts surfaced. Adding to the confusion was the inability of users to access the app for most of the day. It was already late afternoon when the digital wallet platform went back online together with the assurance that no funds were lost.
And USPhilippines annihilates Malaysia as it starts its bid to reclaim the basketball crown in the Southeast Asian Games. That and more updates on today's events later on in the program.
Welcome to the show. I'm Sean Yao.
And I'm Angela Lagunzad.
And I'm Maricel Halili.
All right, so yesterday, our big story was, of course, the power outages sa kasagsagan ng init.
Yes.
All across Luzon.
Rotational brown.
And of course, today, alam mo na, ano nangyari? Turuan.
Turuan.
Finger pointing, blaming, blame game, right?
Biglang NGCP, sino bang may pakasalanan, transmission ba and all. Pero ang ending, tayo yung kawawa. So, Sean, can you explain to us what's the basis of the Department of Energy? Bakit ba nga ba nasisisi yung NGCP?
Well, maseto kasi yon. Sabi ng Energy Department, it's because of the problem with the NGCP's transmission lines. Recall that these transmission lines did in fact trip yesterday. Sinabi yan sa atin ng NGCP spokesperson, si Attorney Alabaza. But ang sabi nga niya, they were immediately restored. In fact, the grid operator says it's more of a problem with the power plants that went on unscheduled shutdown. But as far as the DOE is concerned, the NGCP should have had backup transmission lines. The DOE also said that they should have finished other transmission line projects before the dry season when demand is at its peak.
These projects still have not been fully completed, and the recent prolonged power outages in Panay and Negros, among others, and the power interruption experienced yesterday have been traced principally to inadequacies in the transmission system.
Dapat sana merong self-healing, nga, yung transmission lines natin. Pag bumagsak yung isang linya, dapat may ibang linya na papasok.
So how is the NGCP taking and responding to all of this blame? Let's bring in Shaila Francisco for some updates. Shaila?
Maricel, the NGCP says that there are some transmission lines that are set to be completed this year, but they do admit they are facing challenges in completing the project. These include right-of-way issues. The NGCP says that for now, all we can do is manage demand and make sure that the plants are working properly to provide the needed supply. Maricel?
Thank you, Shaila Francisco.
Now, I'm pretty sure everyone's been talking about this next story.
Yes.
Kasama tayo.
Earlier.
May hula ako.
Ano?
May hula ako.
Letter?
May kinalaman sa pera to.
Letter G?
Letter G.
Letter G.
Okay.
Pag yan ang usapan, affected tayo lahat.
Exactly. But let's share some stories posted by netizens on social media. Rina expressed her disappointment after losing 30,000 pesos in her Gcash account last Monday. According to her, the money was transferred to an East-West Bank account. Fortunately, her lost money was returned just after 2 o'clock this afternoon. For another individual, more than 70,000 pesos disappeared and went to the same East-West Bank account. In an interview on TV5's Frontline sa Umaga, Gcash insisted that no funds were lost. Let's hear what they had to say.
Gusto po natin i-assure ang ating mga customers that there is no fund loss. At dun sa mga na-inconvenience po ngayon, matatanggap nila kung ano man po yung amount na yon within the day. In fact, just recently, we launched yung double safe. So kung ikaw ay meron ka ng MPIN, meron ka pang OTP, meron pa tayong pangatlong layer ng protection, which is the double safe or yung face recognition.
Now let's get more updates on whether all affected Gcash users were able to get their money back. We have with us Jenny Dongon to give the details. Jenny, go ahead.
Angela, in a statement, Gcash said that it has already adjusted the e-wallets of all affected Gcash users. The digital wallet also reiterated that their customers did not lose their funds. Meanwhile, for their part, East West Bank said that it's already acted immediately on the reports and initiated its own internal investigation. They are now working with authorities to resolve the matter immediately. Angela.
Thank you, Jenny Dongon.
Alright, hindi natin papahingahin tong issue na to. Let's discuss this further. We have with us live via Zoom, cybersecurity advocate Art Samaniego. Art, thank you again for joining us. Every time may ganitong aberya, si Art ang tinatakbuhan natin. Art, sabi ng Gcash, hindi daw ito hacking per se, but more of a case of phishing. Would you agree that Gcash is still considered safe because a lot of people have accounts on that e-wallet?
Yes, Gcash and other e-wallets are safe, kaya wag tayong matakot gamitin ito. So, with that statement, I have to agree with Gcash na walang hacking sa Gcash platform na nangyari. Ang nakikita namin nangyari, some users were targeted. They were hacked through phishing and other malicious approach by hackers. At yun, na-victimize sila, kaya nanakaw yung pera nila.
Meaning, tinawin ko lang meaning yung mga OTP or kung sa Gcash mismo, MPIN yung hinihingi, di ba? Dalawa nga yung minsan hinihingi. Yun ang nakuha sa users.
Tama. Ang nangyari kasi, the hackers have already collected this MPIN 1 week ago, 3 days ago, and then they just decided to attack last night. So matagal na itong nakatago sa kanila. Pagkatapos ginamit nila last night, at yun nga, na-detect naman kagad ng East West Bank na merong nangyayaring parang irregular activity yung isang account. And then they immediately block the account.
Oh, pero bakit itong mga bangko na to, like what you have mentioned, East West Bank, and then there's another bank.
AUB.
Yeah, di ba? So ano yung connection nila, or are they even connected? Na plano ba to nung mga sinasabi natin na nag-phishing? And is it also possible na baka yung mga app na na-open natin as users, baka through those apps, baka nakukuha rin yung data natin?
Etong nangyari na to, ang tingin namin, digital money mule yung nangyari. Pag sinabi mong digital money mule, ito yung mga tao na use their own or someone else's bank account, credit card, and other financial instruments to move illegally acquired money on behalf of someone else. So pwedeng etong taong to alam niya o hindi niya alam na ginagamit yung account niya sa pag-accept ng mga forwarded or yung pag-remit sa kanya nung Gcash accounts. So lahat pwedeng mangyari, pwedeng maging biktima ng money mule. Nagre-recruit sila online, they're buying bank accounts, babayaran ka ng 4,000, ipagamit mo lang yung account sa iyo, yung account mo sa kanila. So pag nangyari to, hindi alam to ng mga bangko kasi pwedeng nakipag-usap ako sa kaibigan ko, paggamit naman ang account mo. Pero yung pala illegal transactions na yung pinapasok ko sa kanya. At walang idea dito ang mga bangko, except for pag nakita nila na ganun kadami yung illegal activities or hindi natural na activity.
But sir, this is Angela, no? But given this event, should people limit the amount they have in their Gcash accounts? And paano pa natin may iwasan to na mangyari ulit?
So I always tell my friends not to put big amounts sa mga e-wallets nila because e-wallet is not like the traditional bank. So mas madaming chances na magkamali ka at ma-hack yung account mo. Pero dito, if we will put it into perspective, Gcash surpassed 3.8 trillion in gross transaction value in 2022. The money affected by this unauthorized transaction is about 37 million. Pag tinignan natin siya, it's just around 0.00097% of the money that goes through Gcash. Ganun lang kaliit yung naapektuhan. So, seeing the value of the e-wallets ngayon, so mas maraming good things na nagagawa, very convenient siya. So I ask the viewers not to be afraid of using your Gcash and other e-wallets, and of course the bank apps.
All right. Art, just for a little assurance, no? Actually, ang galing guys. Kasi nahuli nila di ba? Nahuli nung
They
Gcash na
detected
may weird transactions. Nahuli rin nung bangko na may weird transactions. So actually, this should make us feel better and should make us feel more secure. As a cybersecurity advocate, Art, masaya ka ba sa mga developments na ito at kung paano na-handle nung bank, pati nung Gcash, itong attempted breach na ito?
So ang ganda na nangyari ng result ng incident na to, because this shows that cybersecurity is really a shared responsibility between individuals, the private sectors, and of course the government. So napakita nito na everyone has a role to play in protecting our digital world from cyber attacks and frauds. So ang nangyari, nung nagkaroon ng problema, nagreklamo kagad yung mga tao sa Gcash. So tinawagan nila ang Gcash. Hindi sila nagreklamo muna sa Facebook. So nagreklamo sila sa Gcash, and Gcash did the right thing. Tinigil nila yung, nagkaroon sila ng investigation, and then the banks also, nung nalaman nila na parang merong mga transactions na sunod-sunod. So nagtrabaho din kagad tong dalawang bangko para tigilan, para tigilan yung bank account, yung access sa bank accounts. So ngayon makikita natin na lahat to kumikilos to protect the users.
All right. Sana tuloy-tuloy pa
Sana.
itong cybersecurity efforts natin dito. Thank you so much for joining us and for your time tonight, cybersecurity advocate Art Samaniego. After the break, President Bongbong Marcos flies to Indonesia to attend the 42nd Summit of the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. We'll find more about the president's trip when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're still watching The Big Story here on One News. Just 2 days after his back-to-back visit to Washington and the UK, President Bongbong Marcos is now in Indonesia, this time for the 42nd Asean Summit. Akala ko, lesser foreign trips.
Kala din namin, kuha namin yung press release. Sa bagay,
Pero
medyo
kailangan
kinram
daw-
niya sunod-sunod
Kailangan daw kasi to.
Oo.
We needed this meeting na to na kailangan yung dalawa, itong ASEAN
Actually,
Summit.
napaka-importante ngayon, di ba? Dadalo ka sa across the pond, across an ocean, pero yung dito sa region mo, hindi mo dadaluhan.
Yeah.
Pangit din naman tignan.
To be fair, parang yung mga presidente naman natin, kapag may ASEAN Summit,
Lagi
ASEAN
naman,
Summit
diba?
Leaders Meeting, lagi rin naman talaga silang present. Kasi hindi naman nawawala
Yes.
dyan yung mga maritime issues
Yes.
and yung mga regional issues natin.
And I think kailangan talaga ng Philippines to build stronger relations with other ASEAN countries just in case talagang mag-turn something sa China, di ba?
Tayo
Tsaka
magkakampi.
tama, Maseno, yung dati pang nilang ginagawang code of conduct na hindi matapos.
Hindi pa rin tapos
at di
until now.
makuhan. kailangan talagang bisitahin yun every once in a while, right? So anyway, itong ASEAN Summit nga is very important naman talaga for all Southeast Asian nations, not just the Philippines. So, Mase, bilang ikaw ang laging nasa Malacanang, what can we expect?
Fresh from Washington.
Yeah. So Marcos flew to Labuan Bajo, Indonesia at around 1 p.m. That's this afternoon. But before that, in his pre-departure statement, he said that among the issues that will be tackled in the summit are security concerns in the region, including developments in the South China Sea. Marcos will also participate in the 15th Brunei, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines East ASEAN Growth Area Summit on Thursday. That's what we call BIMPIAGA. Here, the DFA says Marcos will discuss developments in the sub-region and efforts on promoting economic development, strengthening connectivity, and sustainable management of natural resources. What else can we expect from this meeting? Let's hear it from the President.
My participation will serve to promote and protect the interests of our country, including our continued efforts towards economic growth, attaining food and energy security, promoting trade and investment, combating transnational crimes such as the trafficking in persons, and protecting migrant workers in crisis situations, amongst others.
President Marcos arrived in Labuan Bajo at around 5 p.m. Camille Samonte is in Indonesia and she gave us more updates and details about this trip. Camille, sino-sino nga ba yung mga kasama ng Pangulo na haharap sa mga ASEAN leaders?
Maricel, President Bongbong Marcos was accompanied by some members of his cabinet as well as Senior Deputy Speaker Gloria Macapagal Arroyo and House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo arrived ahead of them as he attended the foreign ministers' meeting where regional issues like tensions in the South China Sea were tackled. This will also be the first Asian Summit to be attended by the Prime Minister of Timor-Leste. He will be attending as an observer after the ASEAN approved in principle its membership as the regional bloc's 11th member back in November. Maricel?
Thank you, Camille Samonte, reporting from Indonesia.
Right, and while we're on the topic of the South China Sea, ito na nga, South China
ano na
Sea,
yan?
di ba? Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Babe Romualdez, says that joint patrols between the U.S. and the Philippines could begin no later than the third quarter of this year. Ang bilis, di ba? Kasi second quarter na eh. So next quarter na yun.
Uy, at saka dito sa Washington, di ba, kakalatag lang nila nung fact sheet, yung mga
bilateral defense
guidelines. So dun nahimay-himay pa kung paano yung magiging part ng Mutual Defense Agreement, and there you are. Meron na silang joint patrol.
Di ba? Ang bilis. Minsan lang gumalaw ng ganito kabilis, no? But guys, aside from these maritime patrols, the U.S. and the Philippines also revived their COPE Thunder exercises this month. So ano ba tong COPE exercises? These are joint air drills that started again this year, specifically on May 1, just days after the conclusion of the biggest balikatan ever. The exercises first started in the 70s but were halted in 1990 when the eruption of Mount Pinatubo forced U.S. air bases to move outside of the country, or to move out of the country. So in today's drills, U.S. Air Force troops flew their F-16 fighter jets over at the Clark Air Base. This is one of the most advanced aircraft in the world. And the Philippine troops, meanwhile, used their F-A-50 fighter jets, which is a light combat aircraft that is made in South Korea. And here's what the Philippine Air Force had to say about the significance of these joint air drills.
We can simulate na maraming aircraft na pumapasok sa ating airspace, and we are defending it with using our coalition tactics and capabilities. Among ourselves, we cannot do it. That is why with them, with the US counterparts, with this COPE Thunder, we are able to practice that kind of situation na natuturo nila sa amin or natututunan namin kung paano gawin.
Now, the question here, guys, is do these joint air exercises have anything to do with the upcoming joint patrols in the South China Sea and tensions in the region? Brian Castillo gives us the answer.
Angela, U.S. troops clarified that the COPE Thunder exercises are not targeted towards any other country. They say its only purpose is to show the Philippines that the U.S. is ready to come to its defense if needed. Some 300 soldiers from the Philippine Air Force and over 200 American troops took part in the drills, which are set to conclude this Friday. But the exercises will have a second part by July, where more soldiers are expected to participate and more assets are seen to be used. Angela?
Thank you so much, Brian Castillo. In other news, the National Irrigation Administration says there is enough water supply for irrigation despite the allocation cut from the National Water Resources Board. The NIA said farmlands will have enough water supply for the cropping season since reservoir in Bulacan were able to replenish supply after it rained in the past couple of days. Water allocation for irrigation had been slashed to 10 cubic meters per second, down from 30 cubic meters per second until May 10. After that, the allocation for irrigation will be suspended until the next cropping cycle in mid-June.
Pero hindi na ako talaga kami humingi ng additional na tubig ditong Mayo kasi umulan naman ito sa Bulacan. Enough na po yun para masustain ang ating standing crop.
Still to come, Gilas Pilipinas started its SEA Games redemption campaign with a comfortable win over Malaysia. More updates on today's games when the big story returns. Keep it here on One News.
You're still watching the big story here on One News. What else do we have tonight, girls?
Well, we have a lot, actually. Ang dami. On the policy side, eto na, girls, binakbakan ulit ng ilang farm groups ang RCEP, yung ating Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Stakeholders from different sector groups banded together to voice their dissent over the free trade agreement. They insist that RCEP will kill the local industry by making it easier for cheaper imports to come in. Senator Lauren De Garda, who sponsored RCEP, tried to reason with the groups, saying she would personally see to it that farmers and fisherfolk would not get the short end of the stick.
Hindi madali. Against all odds. But it's a job I have to do as a leader of this institution. I had to do it. And I believe that we can turn the tide so that the conditionalities of our government agencies, we have something to watch them by to ensure that they abide.
Ang tanong dyan, no, ay naniwala ba sila
Naniwala
dito
ba?
sa assurance ni Senator Legarda? Kasi,
Yun nga eh.
I mean, lagi naman nananalo si Loren, di ba? Pero gaano katagal naman siyang uupo dyan?
Yeah.
Yung RCEP, I think that's pretty much for life until we decide to back out.
Yes.
Pero again, how do you balance no, Mase, the fact na meron nga tayong food crisis, so we do need imports, sad to say.
Yes.
Hindi ko po gusto ng imports, pero yun ang reality natin. Magkaka-El Nino pa.
And then you have smuggle issue.
The smuggling issue.
Oh, naalala ko na naman yung sugar, yung pumasok
Diba?
na kahit hindi pa pirmado yung permit.
Kawawa naman yung mga
Oo.
farmers.
Tumaas yung kilay
Kawawa
niyo
yung
kasi
mga
ayaw natin
farmers.
na magyari, di ba? Ito naman, no? Still, speaking of the Senate, they actually tackled mental health concerns after senators expressed alarm over the high suicide rate in the country. So again, this is actually ang bigat nito pag-usapan.
Exactly.
Ang daming suicide cases, no? In 2019, nasa 2,000, ilan nga ba to? 2,810 nung 2019 versus 2020 nung onset ng pandemic 4,420. That's like a 30-40% increase. According yan, no, sa Philippine Statistics Authority, hindi po namin to iniimbento.
Pero itong mga datos, so ano yung nangyari dun sa hearing?
ano yung nangyari sa hearing. So ito na nga, sabi ni Senator Raffy Tulfo, tinawag niyang yung National Center for Mental Health or NCMH na dinosaur of all corruption. Ang sabi ni Senator Tulfo, there have been irregularities in the hospital for quite some time now, and I think if you had done outreach programs there, you would actually believe this, right? And to be more specific, Tulfo said that there's an issue with food rationing in NCMH. There's not enough food, but the budget for this supposedly more than tripled from 80 million pesos to 250 million pesos. Hospital management says they've been outsourcing the food, which had been a practice since the time of Slain Center for Mental Health Chief Roland Cortez. Senator Raffy didn't buy this explanation though. Okay, hindi bumenta kay Senator Tulfo.
You're telling me itong questionable na pag-outsource ng pagkain ay kagagawan ni Dr. Cortez na kung saan from 80 million lumundag sa 250 million, going up to 300 million pa siguro. Nakakalungkot po, nagagamitin mo po yung pangalan ni Dr. Cortez, patay na po siya at wala na ho siyang kakayahan na idepensa pasinungalingan yung anuman allegations meron kayo against him now.
Now, from mental health issue, let's go on with the education topic. The lower house has approved on third and final reading the bill prohibiting schools from enforcing no permit, no exam policies. House Bill 7584 covers elementary and high school students studying in private schools. Under the bill, students with unsettled fees shall be allowed to take their exams. Pending payments, those should be settled within the school year unless the school approves otherwise. Meanwhile, the measure also gives schools the discretion to withhold clearance and transfer credentials or refuse enrollment in the next school year if students fail to pay pending dues.
Alright, ito na. From ASEAN SEA Games naman, it was definitely a busy day for Team Philippines in the Southeast Asian Games as some of the highly anticipated matches happened earlier today. Let's start off with Gilas Pilipinas. Gilas started its redemption campaign back to Southeast Asian hoops domination with an annihilation of Malaysia 94-49. Brandon Ganuelas Rosser led Gilas in scoring with 15 points, while Justin Brownlee chipped in 11. Punta naman tayo ngayon sa gymnastics. Make that 3 gold medals for Carlos Yulo in the SEA Games. Yulo made up for a silver medal in rings by capturing the parallel bars gold medal, while teammates John Ivan Cruz and Juancho Miguel Besana ruled the floor exercise and vault apparatus. And in football, the Filipinas defeated Vietnam 2-1. However, a 5-1 win for Myanmar over Malaysia in the other game means that the Philippines misses out on the semis. Still, congratulations on the tournament. Filipinas, yan yung mga inaabangan natin. Meanwhile, let's check out the medal tally so far in the SEA Games. Still at number 1 is host nation Cambodia with 37 gold medals. Second is Indonesia with 29 golds. And behind them are Thailand and Vietnam with 28 and 22 gold medals respectively. Meanwhile, Philippines is currently in 5th with 19 gold medals.
Before we go, meron ba kayong mga kamag-anak na magwa-100 years old?
Wala pa, medyo matagal pa. Mga 10, siguro mga 10 years. Ganun.
Well, a House bill raising the cash gift for Filipino centenarians to 1 million pesos has been passed on third and final reading. The current Centenarians Act of 2016 provides that Filipinos who are 100 years old will receive a 100,000 peso cash gift. But under the proposed amendments, senior citizens who will reach the age of 101 will get 1 million pesos from the government. That's on top of the 100,000 already given to them when they turned 100. Aside from the cash gift, centenarians will also receive a letter from the President. The National Commission of Senior Citizens will implement this measure once it's passed.
Why not?
Motivation.
Motivation to live.
Kasi it's not
a
enough to reach
healthy
100.
lifestyle.
Yeah. Or maging 100 plus.
101.
Yeah.
Para lang
1 million.
makita ng 1 million. And that's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you and good night.